right? So Rabbi Yehoshua puts it this way. He says, you must mourn, right? Just talking about being able to balance ourselves between the different issues of life. He's saying that if there are occasions for mourning, that we should be able to mourn. And that's the goes with the scriptures, right? Where it says, rejoicing with those that rejoice and mourning with those that mourn, where there's a place to mourn. It goes with Ecclesiastes also. It says there's a time to rejoice, there's a time to mourn, right? We must mourn, but to mourn too much, to live in a perpetual deprivation is simply wrong, right? There needs to be a balance, in life. If I'm sorrowing, I am not sorrowing to an excess, right? But I'm sorrowing to the right proportion. And when that proportion is met, my sorrowing is done, right? I do not sorrow, nor do I live my life to please people, right? Life is about expressing myself, not impressing people. There are people that sorrow because of what people are expecting of them. Oh, they will need that. I don't sorrow and I don't think I'm the one that killed the person, or I don't like the person. If that's the way you live your life, you're going to get tired, right? And you're going to miss the mark with God. God's design for life is that we live life from a core of who we are, right? Not because of what we think people would like to see, right? So when it comes to a place of mourning, there's a place you mourn, and when it's past that time, you stop. And we see an example in David, right? David mourned for the first child of Bathsheba, right? But God determined that that child was not going to live. So when that child died, David stopped mourning because David knew that he could not bring the child back, right? But some people still mourn. Like I spoke of my mentee here, even though the daughter died, she was still mourning for her, mourned so much that she hurt herself. A friend of hers the other day lost a son, and even though the son had died and been buried, she was still expecting the son to come back, right? There's a place to mourn, but that you need to know where it stops. When it goes past where it should stop, it becomes idolatry, right? You need to understand the boundaries, conditions that life has set, that God has set. That's where you gain mastery. When you know your limitations in life, the things that are within your control and the things that are not within your control, and you respect those boundaries. When you cross those boundaries, then you're not going to get the best out of life. The elements will not work for you. They will work against you, right? So Rabbi here is just talking about the need to set boundaries. Says you must mourn, but to mourn too much, to live in but to mourn too much, to live in perpetual deprivation is simply wrong. Instead, the challenge is to find a way to grieve and live. Grieve and live. Grieve and live. Pretty much you grieve where there's a place and need to grieve. You rejoice when there's a place and need to rejoice. And you just live your life. Because life is what it is. Right? There's a time for everything. And when that time for something comes, let it be. Right? Don't force yourself against something whose time has come. It's like your child has come to of age to leave the house. You then start struggling with it. I mean, that's foolishness, right? That's foolishness. You're just going to be destroying yourself when you do that. You're going to be destroying your child when you do that. Life is about understanding boundaries, understanding seasons and times, right? When you understand seasons and times will work for you, not against you. When you don't understand it, they'll work against you, right? So, and Stephen King will put it this way. He says, the road to hell is paved with adverbs. Too much of this or too little of that. God is in the balance. The devil is in the adverbs. God is in the balance. Balance of life is understanding times and seasons and respecting them, right? Doing things in their own time, doing things in their own season. And things done in their season are easiest and best to be done. When it's summer, there are things that are best to be done, do them. When it's spring, there are things that are best to be done, do them. When it's winter, there are things that are best to be done, do them. These are wisdom. Different seasons of life are wisdom from above for us to do what is meant to be done in that season. Because when we do, we'll get the harvest that we need to support us in every season of life. Right? I'm going to go on here. So Sharon Bruce says in this chapter here, says, even in the deepest suffering, there's still joy. I mean, even in the deepest suffering, there's still joy. There's still something to you can rejoice for. In the midst of deep sorrow, there's something. Gratitude is a choice, right? Gratitude is a choice. When people can find joy in sorrow, is because they 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 have decided not to, because if only if they can look away or look well in the situation, they will see things to rejoice for, things that you can give thanks for. When the scripture says that in everything we should give thanks, it's not telling us that we should tell lies. It's not telling us that we should concord things that doesn't make sense. It's just saying, shine your eyes, see better. Shine your eyes, see better. Don't just be fixated on one thing. You have lost A. What about the B you did not lose? You did not lose. What if you had lost A and B? There are people that lose A, B, C, but you have only lost A and you are crying as if your world has ended. You still have B and C, right? It's not about being thankful for the A alone. Thank God that you still have B and C, right? Because there are those that don't have all three of them, right? So when we're giving thanks, in all situations, it's not the time to tell lies. It's a time to see rightly, and give thanks for what you see, because it's not what you're looking at, is what you see, right? If all you are seeing is what you've lost, you are not seeing well, right? You need to see your life as a whole. Yes, I've lost A, but I still have B and C, and I can be grateful for the B and C that I have, right? But in deeper sorrow, there are still things to be grateful for. The fact that you're even alive, you are the one having to mourn other people, not people mourning you. That is something to be grateful for, right? The fact that you are alive, you're breathing air, something to be grateful for. The mere fact that we're able to spend this time together, you're able to listen to me, you have internet to listen to me, you can hear what I'm saying, understand what I'm saying, is something to be grateful for, right? So to be alive is to see this world overflows with blessings, right? To be alive is to see that this world overflows with blessing. If all you can see is cost, then you're not alive. Again, it's not what you're looking at, it's what you see. Someone that's alive will see the blessings of God all around in the midst of deep stress, deep sorrow, deep distress. If you look well, you can still see the blessing of God, all around. So in being grateful in every situation, again, it's not a lie, it's not a concussion, it's being able to see beyond the thing you're sorrowing for and see for the other things that you still have. You've lost a lot, but you have not lost everything. Be grateful for the things you have not lost. Be grateful that you have hope because you are still alive, right? So to be alive is to see that this world overflows with blessings, right? Even here, even now, you grieve and you leave, right? You don't grieve so much that you don't see the other things you can use, Uh, like I was sharing with my mentee when that lost a sister, I was trying to help her see the things she can be grateful for, but she was just too fixated on her sister that she refused. She refused. It wasn't the devil. She just refused, right? She stubbornly refused, and we all have a choice. Nobody is put into depression, when depression starts, it's a choice. People are going to clinical depression. Before you get into clinical depression, there's a place where there's a choice. You choose to go that road, but you stay on that road long enough, your choice will be taken away. You get into a place where you are now locked up with a chain, where it's now difficult to break from, right? We can choose not to get to that point. We can choose to believe God. We can choose to see the miracles of life, right? And the miracles of life that we'll see, if we stay long enough with it, it will work for us, to answer for us, right? So